Hi everyone, and welcome to the Knit Shift episode 94. My name is Laura and today is Tuesday, September 26th, 2017, and welcome to my podcast. If you are new here, this is a podcast about knitting and yarn and living a crafty life in the suburbs of Northern Virginia. I live with my dog Gracie and my boyfriend Josh, who I'm pretty sure I always mention after the dog, but he's never gonna watch this anyway, so oh well. I promise they are equals in my heart. You know, I would say I prefer Josh, but Gracie can hear me, so I don't want to say that. It is my day off work. I decided to record. I'm on an every 2 weeks recording schedule right now. I'm finding that that's best for my work schedule and having enough knitting content to show you each episode. So show notes can be found at theknitshift.com. This episode is available on iTunes and YouTube and will be embedded at theknitshift.com. We have a Ravelry group. If you go to the groups tab and search for Ravelry, you will find us. And I am on Ravelry as Yarnstormer, and I am on Instagram as Laura Mahalski, and I would love it if you followed me in both places. So that's it for the administrata. It's been a busy 2 weeks around here. I recorded 15 days ago, so keeping to my 2 week schedule for now. I mentioned last episode that my grandma Mary had passed away, and I wanted to say thank you to everyone who sent lovely messages in the YouTube comments or on Instagram. Since I last spoke to you, I went to Pennsylvania for the funeral. A lot of family time. I can talk more about that later. It's been a busy 2 weeks at work. I worked last night. My days off are Monday and Tuesday. However, I worked last night so that I could be off this coming Sunday, which I'm pretty excited about, and I'll talk more later. And I visited my local yarn shop not once but twice in the past week, and I have some things to show you from that adventure. And let's get started. I have one finished object and 2 works in progress, and I have a little bit of stash enhancement, so let's get to it. So my FO, you guys have not seen this at all. This is a brand new to the podcast project, and I'm sorry if I keep looking off screen this way. They are paving my apartment complex today, and they tried to do it a few weeks ago and they were rained out, but we all had moved our cars anyway, so it was kind of a hassle. So they are doing surveying right outside my apartment, and my dog is keeping a very close eye to make sure that they don't get up to any nasty business. So if she barks, I'm sorry, I'll try and edit it out. So this FO, I bought the yarn a week ago and created the FO. I finished it by Sunday, so it was a really fast knit. My employer, the Washington Post, is hosting an art show in a few weeks, early November to be specific, but I think I have to have it turned in a few weeks. And I really wanted to enter. You know, I'm new there. I am not an artist in the sense of painting or photography, but I am a fiber artist, and I thought it would be really fun to somehow represent the Post in knitting. That's the whole inspiration had to be something related to the Post, something related to journalism, a moment in their history, something that ties back to the Post. It couldn't be a portrait of your dog, I suppose. So I decided it would be really fun to try to chart the P in the Washington Post's logo. And if I have my wits about me, I'll insert a photo of it here. I should backtrack. I had grand ambitions. I was going to knit the slogan, "Democracy Dies in Darkness," in a colorwork scarf. You know, I had grand plans of doing some sort of fancy project like that. The reality of having to pull that off, and in like 6 weeks, it just wasn't gonna happen. So I had to downsize my ambitions a little bit. So I looked at the flag in the masthead that goes across the top of the front page, and I said, yeah, I think I could chart the P for the Post. So that's what I did. I got some graph paper, and it took 2 iterations. I did one that I was pleased with, but I did it in pen. I couldn't find a pencil, so I had to rechart it again with a few edits that I had made on the first chart. So I made the chart, and I went to Fiber Space, my local yarn shop, and I bought some shepherd's wool. in a lovely cream and black color, and I knit it up. And I have blocked it. I hope you can tell I blocked it. You can see that the stitches are a bit uneven in the vertical columns. I'm really not the best at color work. I'm learning. I love the way it looks, but my skill level is not quite there to be as good as other people yet. You know, in time, I think if I keep working on it, I will do better. But yeah, I'm really pleased with this. So I need to get a frame for it, and I need to come up with the gallery blurb, you know, because it's going to hang on a wall or on an easel, and it's going to have a photo of me next to it and a little couple sentences about the project. So I have to figure out what that's going to say, but I am really pleased with it. And on a completely petty level, I feel like this is something, like I am a knitter. That is kind of my identity. And I mention it a little at work, but not so much that I want people to think I'm kind of crazy about knitting, even though I am. Like, that's really where my interests are outside of work, but I don't want to scare them. So I feel like this is a way to put my name out there as, oh, Laura, she's the woman who knits. You know, our newsroom has like 800 people, so I just wanna, you know, it's my thing. It's what I do. So I love how it turned out. There's one thing I'm not super happy with, and it's a little bit hard to tell. Well, there's two things I'm not happy with. One, it's off-centered a little bit. I counted wrong when I started the chart, and then I had to just kind of go with it. But if you look at it as if, you know, if you forget these little 3 doodads that are sticking out, I don't know the typography term, and you pretend it just starts here, I guess it's pretty evenly centered, but still, I could have centered this better. The other thing is, where I had on the right side of the P, where it's this long vertical line of black and white, here's the back for those who are interested. It's a hot mess, so sorry to anyone who knows color work better and is cringing at this. Where I had to float the whites across the side of the P, oh, my battery is dying. I am gonna change out my battery. Where I was floating the whites behind the black vertical line here, it has meant that there's a little bit of stretching out here from where the floats meet. And it's not super visible when I'm just holding it up, but I wonder if I can tighten it, you know, if I can somehow, I don't know if it's a matter of whip stitching the black and the white together on the back side to kind of tighten it and bring it in a little bit. Maybe I'm overthinking it and I don't have to do that. I don't know. I don't wanna warp the front of it any more than I have to, really. So we'll see. All of that aside, I'm quite pleased with this. I think it's easily recognizable as the P, and I'm super stoked. So I will be sure when the time comes for the art show, I want a photo of me standing next to the P, because I'm very proud and I've never had anything in an art show. So I think it'll be pretty cool. So I have about, oops, just dropped it. I have about half of, I definitely have more than half of the black, and I have about half of the white left. And these are both shepherd's wool worsted, which is a great workhorse yarn. And I knit this on, the square on a size 9 needle, US. Nice loose gauge, pretty happy with it. So there's my FO. I have not had, it's kind of sad, I have not had a lot of FOs this year. It's just been such a busy year. So much has been going on that I just haven't had the time to knit. But I'm hoping now that I'm settled in my new job, I can buckle down and start churning out some FOs. So my works in progress to share with you this week are, surprise, surprise, two pairs of socks. So I am knitting the second sock in a pair of rainbow socks. This is the first sock. You've seen this already. And I am on the second. Yet again, I forgot to put progress markers in my socks. So I think I was about here several weeks ago. I know this because I turned the heel when I was in Pennsylvania for the funeral for my grandma. So I've knit about half of, from what I have here, I've probably knit about everything above my finger. So about half of what is here right now. So that's pretty good. I was going to keep these for myself, but they're going to go to a relative who needs a little bit of rainbow sunshine in her life right now. She tried them on in Pittsburgh, and I just she was so excited about them, I said, okay, they're yours. So I was gonna keep them. I love this yarn so much, but they are going to someone who could really use them and is really excited about them. So also, this same relative, part of the process of my grandma passing away is my family had to clean out her apartment and, you know, divvy up her possessions and things like that. You know, she was not a woman of any means, so it's not like there's anything of financial value, it's all sentimental value. And this relative of mine, I said, I want you to have the socks that I knit for grandma, because I know you will really love them, you know, you'll take care of them, and clearly they will mean a lot to you. And so I knit my grandma definitely 2, possibly 3 pairs of socks over the years, and so this relative now has those socks as well, which is extra special because they belong to my grandma. So I'm thrilled that she'll get a brand new pair as well as the hand-me-downs from my grandma. I'm knitting these stockinette socks toe up, obviously, on a size 1 needle. This is opal sock yarn. I forget the design line, but it's a fabulous rainbow colorway. I love these so much. I wish I don't think I have enough to knit myself, even like partially. I might be able to use these in like the cuff of a solid sock or something, just to give a little bit of excitement to a pair of socks. So we'll see. But I really, really like this sock yarn, and I would love to buy some more. I'm carrying these in a new bag that I bought a couple weeks ago. This is a Bink waffle bag. It's reversible. The inside is this lovely gray yarn. It's the perfect size for socks. I really wanted a bag that I could put on my wrist. As you can see, they're not equal handles. There's this, I guess, is it a rivet? I don't really know what this metal thing is called, but you just loop the handle through and you can wear it on your wrist. And I thought, for when I'm at the metro, I can just hang this on my wrist and have a yarn cake inside, and it'll be so easy, and it's perfect. So I really like this bag, and I like I love coral and gray. I think it's such a beautiful combination, and, you know, classic little bird fabric. Put a bird on it like they say on Portlandia. So yeah, those are, if I have my act together, those might be done in 2 weeks. We'll see. And the next work in progress is a pair of socks I'm knitting for my dad for Christmas. I'm carrying these in a dumpling bag that I got at Knitting Addiction in Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina. No brand name. And I'm knitting these socks out of Langja wool, which is a nice, yet it's like the hearty German sock yarn week, I guess. Lovely German sock yarn, really pretty, neutral. And I'm really excited to share this with you guys, because last week I was about here and it was like, oh, look at this lovely, lovely yarn. But it's actually a really fun repeat. Look at this awesome yarn, you guys. I love how mottled it is. I love that it's a relatively quick repeat. You know, you go from the burgundy to the orange to the gray, green, gray, back to the burgundy. So it's a really short repeat, which I kind of love. And then there's like, on each side of the green are these kind of mottled blue stripes, which I think is really fantastic. So there's a lot going on in this yarn, and it's a reasonably priced sock yarn. I know it's gonna wear really well. I knit myself a pair of socks out of this that I have not worn yet, but it's one of those good German wool nylon blends that you know will hold up to just about anything. So I'm knitting these on carbons, which I kind of did a more in-depth review of last time. They're my first time knitting with the Knitter's Pride carbons, and I have to say I am a very big fan. They're very lightweight. They are much lighter than metal needles because of this. It feels hollow. I'm not sure if it is hollow, but they're basically really lightweight. The join between the black part and the silver tip is really negligible. You don't feel anything when you're knitting with it. The yarn doesn't stick on it, so I'm really enjoying this. These are also size 1s because they're for my dad, who has a size 13 foot. I really don't want to knit him or my brother socks on a size 0 if I can avoid it. It just feels like it takes so much longer because they both have size 13 feet. So I'm getting very close to doing the heel turn. I'm gonna do a fish lips kiss heel on this. And actually no, I probably need to do a gusset and heel flap. I think they wear better. We'll see. The gusset and heel flap feels like it takes so long, but maybe I'll experiment and do a fish lips kiss heel. I'm just thinking out loud and as if I'm not recording right now. Sorry guys. We'll see next time how I decide to put a heel on this sock. Usual, my standard toe up recipe. For my dad, I cast on 36 and then I increase every third round until I hit 72 stitches. I go a little bit bigger for him because he's got big feet. Not just in length, but just big around. This is knitting up much different than I expected it to from the cake, so I always like when yarn is a surprise. Say hi, baby girl. Here, I'll turn so that you can see Gracie a little bit. What's up? What? Oh, you see any squirrels? Where's the squirrels? All right, I'll let you down. So that is it for works in progress to share with you. I am still knitting on a shawl that I plan to wear to Rhinebeck because I will be at Rhinebeck this year. However, I had to rip out a bunch of rows yesterday. I was picking up part of the shawl that I'm knitting. You have to pick up stitches along the side. I'm knitting the Vertices Unite shawl by Stephen West. And a bunch of them just came out and I picked up stitches and I had to rip out like 10 rows and it's killing me because I'm on this really boring section and I just want it to be over with and it's not over with yet, so I'm really annoyed and it's kind of in timeout, but not too long because Rhinebeck is like 3 weeks away, so I need to get moving. So that is it for my works in progress, and now let's move on to yarns, aka stash enhancement. So the first bit of yarns is not a yarn at all. It is a book, A Stash of One's Own by Clara Parks. This is an essay book. It's compiled from authors including Susan B. Anderson, The Yarn Harlot, Stephanie Pearl McPhee, Gudrun Johnson, Amy Herzog, Franklin Habit. So it's the back of it describes it as a heartwarming anthology of stories that celebrate yarn. Specifically, the knitter's reputation for acquiring it in large quantities and storing it away in what's lovingly referred to as a stash. So I picked this up at Fiberspace, my local yarn shop, and it's got this really fun illustration here. I am about a quarter of the way into it. The essays are very short. They're kind of the perfect little dessert. Right before I'm falling asleep at night, I will read an essay or two and then I can fall asleep with happy thoughts of yarn in my head. Always trying to cut back on sitting in bed and reading on my phone. So I'm really enjoying this. It's really fun. And my next bit of stash enhancement is something I bought about a month ago and it arrived this week. Lauren, the dyer behind Lolo Did It Yarns, did a Hurricane Harvey relief colorway. You ordered it sight unseen. It was just all proceeds were going to hurricane relief after Hurricane Harvey hit Texas. I think she's from New Orleans. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but she has some ties to the Gulf Coast perhaps. But so she donated, I'm sure it was in the thousands and thousands of dollars because she said the response was huge. It was overwhelming. So you could choose the base you wanted and she would dye it all to order and then mail it out. So I didn't know, you don't know what you're gonna get, but this is her, oh, I didn't even know that this was the colorway name. It's called Helping Hippos. I know Hippo is kind of a line of yarn colorway she does. So I got this on the Everyday Sock base, which is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon blend, and it's a gray base with speckles of a lot of pink. There's purple, there's green, there's neon. It's kind of like a highlighter set in yarn form, which I love. So I really am happy with this. It's really soft. I think this will become a pair of socks for me. Yeah, I also like this little blip of orange right here. Next stash enhancement was courtesy of the Fiberspace Miss Babs trunk show. I don't know how Miss Babs does it. She goes to a lot of wool festivals, and I know fall is a busy season because she's always at SAF in North Carolina the last weekend of October, but she's also at Rhinebeck the week or two before that. And she came to Fiberspace, here it is, the last weekend in September, and or the next to the last weekend in September, and she brought, I've never seen so much Miss Babs yarn. I've seen her booths at Maryland Sheep and Wool, I've seen her booths at SAF. This blew all of those out of the water. Every flat surface at Fiberspace was covered in her yarn. I mean, covered. It was stacked 4 or 5 skeins deep on the top of every bookshelf. And the upstairs at Fiberspace, there was even more. It was crazy. So I have long wanted to knit a sweater out of Miss Babs yarn. And Yelza, which is her worsted weight base that comes in 560 yard put-ups for like $35, that would be the logical choice because worsted weight knits up fast. It's a good price point for a really beautiful yarn. 560 yards for that amount of money is quite reasonable. However, I know in my heart of hearts that I really need to knit more lightweight sweaters. I wear my DK weight sweater as much as I wear my worsted weight one, and I don't even wear the worsted weight pullover I made myself my very first sweater. I just don't wear it, it's too warm. So a fingering weight cardigan is really what I need to make. So even though Miss Babs makes this amazing, beautiful, shiny, happy yarn, I stuck to my guns and I got something really neutral. And I had gift cards to Fiberspace from some of my knitting friends who watch this podcast, and I had a gift card from my former coworkers in Norfolk. So I exhausted my gift cards. I've been chipping away at them. I finally have exhausted my gift cards thanks to their very, very generous gifts. And I got a sweater's quantity of a fingering weight yarn. I know a lot of Miss Babs' yarn line. She has quite a few. I did not remember Kira. Oh yeah, there's the beauty shot. Kira is a fingering weight 100% merino superwash wool. It's 560 yards, 8.3 ounces, $35. So I bought 4 skeins of it to knit myself a shawl. So over 2,000 yards. So I'll just hold up one. This is the colorway Oyster. It is just tremendously beautiful. The twist on this yarn is just tremendous. I don't know if you can see, it's a really nice tight twist, which I love in a good sock yarn. So this will make a really beautiful cardigan. I don't know what pattern yet. I will probably go for something simple and mostly stockinette, but I'm super excited for it. And it all came in this awesome Fiberspace bag. So yeah, the trunk show was bonkers. I went on Sunday around lunchtime. It had gone on, I think, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. It was still crazy on Sunday. I can't even imagine how much yarn they had sold on Saturday because it still looked so crazy packed. So I will definitely be going back to her trunk shows when she comes to Fiberspace down the road because that was awesome. And that is it for my stash enhancement. So that brings us to a little bit of life update, life chat. I can't even remember what I call this segment, to be perfectly honest. So it's been a busy couple weeks. I went to Pittsburgh for my grandma's funeral. We had, the visitation was a Friday and the funeral was a Saturday morning. And we were at the funeral home Friday from about 12:30 until 8 o'clock at night. Oh, I hope Gracie is snarfing at the front door. She puts her nose right on the crack between the door and the jamb, and she goes, and she sounds like, there, she just did it there. She sounds like a horse because that must mean there's a squirrel right there. And it's like she's trying to sniff, but also let them know she's there without barking at them. It's just hilarious. I'm gonna move the camera so you can see her. It's just hilarious to me. Anyway, my grandma. We were at the funeral home all day on Sunday. It was on Friday, excuse me. It was a very long day. My Josh came up. I didn't think he was gonna be able to come up because it was the weekend of September 15th, which is fall can be just as busy as April for him. So I didn't even ask him to come. I thought there's no way he's gonna be able to come up. Well, he drove up Thursday night from Norfolk to this apartment. And then on Friday morning, he drove from here to Pittsburgh. I had left Thursday. He drove from here to Pittsburgh and went to the visitation, saw my family, we hung out, and drove back here Friday night. So he did DC to Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh to DC all in one day, to be there for me and my grandma, which was just so lovely and made me cry when he just told me, here's what I'm doing. Originally it was going to be Norfolk to Pittsburgh and back to DC in one day. So thank goodness he was able to drive up here Thursday night and save 4 hours. Or 3 hours, but it is still 4 hours from here to Pittsburgh and back. You know, five each way if you stop for a meal, that kind of thing. So yeah, he's a good guy, my Josh. So it was a really hard weekend, but it was also really lovely in a way because we all got to come together and just celebrate my grandma. It was hard because it was an open casket and I was really, really dreading that part of it, but she looked so beautiful, and I'll get emotional if I talk about it too much, but they had styled her hair. She had stopped styling her hair a couple years ago and just kind of wore it flat. She used to do like the rows of curls that, you know, like a hairdresser set, I don't know what it's called, but she would keep it for a week, you know, she would like sleep with the little bonnet on and keep it fresh for the week and then get it done the following Saturday. So she just stopped doing that a few years ago because it was just too much for her to go to the hairdresser. So she kind of had a shaggy pixie and just kind of let it grow out. And they had styled her hair to look like it used to, and she looked better lying there than she did when I saw her a month ago. She didn't look happy. She was just kind of ready for it, you know, and it was a really tough weekend, but I was just so glad we could all be together and celebrate her and talk about her. And it was like the Sunday dinners we had growing up where we would all go to her house and she would make dinner. And the funeral home had like all these parlors. And I have a big family. My mom was one of 10, you know, my grandma's siblings each had a bunch of kids. So it's just a really big family. And so we were all spread out, and one of my cousins said, you know, we were like, if we didn't know better, we would think grandma's sitting right here with us, you know, relaxing after cooking dinner. This feels like it did on a Sunday dinner. You know, it was sad, but it was also really lovely and heartwarming. So I'm very grateful for it, you know, and yeah, just really grateful that she was my grandma and is my grandma. So I won't say more about that because you probably saw I'm getting all emotional. But so my mom found this book in our house. She went hunting for it, and either she bought it and asked my grandma to fill it out, or I asked my grandma to fill it out. I don't know the origin story, but it's all of these questions and answers about my grandma, and she wrote it out by hand, and my grandma had lovely penmanship, so it's a gift to see these answers written out, and I can kind of read them in her voice. And in the very back of it, there are several pages with photos, some of which I've seen, but there's a photo from her wedding day that I had never seen before. And there she is with my pap, who died in 2005, and I just love it so much. And this one is her and her sister Anne, who became a nun, who was known as Sister Regina. She was her maid of honor. So I think I had seen this one, but it was not as familiar to me. So yeah, this was just, look at how, I just think she's so beautiful. I just love it so much. I just think it's such a treasure. So that was a really nice thing to have. And I looked through it a little bit while we were in Pittsburgh, and I'm gonna spend some more time looking through it again. So this coming weekend, I mentioned briefly that I would be off work this Sunday, and Josh and I haven't had a day off together in quite some time. My new weekends are Monday, Tuesday. He's off Saturday, Sunday, like everyone else in the world. So I offered to work. My boss asked me to work yesterday, and I said, sure. She said, I'll give you off the following Sunday. And I was like, great. So it's the last home game for the Washington Nationals, so we have tickets to that game. They're playing the Pirates, which is my hometown team, and we are probably also going to the National Zoo in the morning. The game isn't until 3 o'clock, so we will probably go to the zoo in the morning and spend the day in the city and gallivant around and have a really nice time. So I am super duper stoked to have a fun, relaxing day with Josh. It'll be really awesome to kind of get out and explore. We have been going out after I get off of work on Saturday nights. We'll go out for a drink or snacks, that kind of thing. But it'll be nice to explore in the daylight. And we're not huge going out people, so this is definitely more my speed to go and do something out during the daytime. So yeah, I think that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching, and again, for your kind words about my grandma. I really do appreciate it. Take care, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.